So again, welcome. My name is Susan Migliorisi. I'm one of the associate directors here in the undergraduate admission office at Boston College. I'm joined by some wonderful colleagues, Kelly Bellavance, who's also with me in the admission office, and then our wonderful colleagues from the Connell School for Nursing, Dean Susan Gennaro.
Hi.
Associate Dean Colleen Simonelli.
Hello,
and
everyone.
Anya Villatoro, who is actually the Director of Undergraduate Studies in the Connell School. So I just want to let people know how we're going to run this session. We'll just do a little bit of a presentation from the Connell School folks for about 20 minutes or so. And we want to thank all of you who've submitted some questions ahead of time. They'll be sure to address those in their presentation. But we will have some time for some questions and answers at the end of the presentation. So about 15 to 20 minutes for that. The way to get your question answered is to use the question and answer function. The chat function has been disabled, but we will be using the question and answer function to get to all of your questions. So I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues and start with Dean Gennaro to welcome you all to this session.
And we certainly do welcome you all to this session. It is a very unusual session, I have to say, because not only are we doing this on a webinar, generally we talk to students and we talk to parents separately so everybody can get their questions answered, and we get to see your faces, which we're not. So that's a little sad. Also, generally at this time of the year, it's not snowing. So I am very amazed as I came into my office today to be having to put on my boots and thinking about whether I was wearing my winter coat, which is, you know, maybe I should have always been wearing my winter coat, but the snow was a little different. So here we are on a different day, but still at the fabulous Connell School of Nursing. So I think it is the undoubtedly best nursing school, and I'm thrilled to be here. And I wanted to tell you a little bit why I think that. I've worked at some of the best nursing schools in the United States, and I'm so happy with what it is we're doing here and the undergraduate education we give here. Part of why I say that is because it's really hard to balance all the things that have to be balanced in academia. We want to give people the very best education at the very best hospitals or other healthcare facilities, because we're very big in community health and looking at things not just in hospitals. And we also want to make sure that students have the opportunity to do every single thing that any other student can do, because you're not here just to become a nurse, you're here to get a wonderful 4-year education. And so we work very hard to make sure that our students who are athletes do very well in nursing school, but can be athletes, or are singers, or are dancers, or ROTC, or any of the millions of different things that students choose to do, which is what makes this such a vibrant and wonderful place to be as a student, because you get to meet so many people doing so many interesting things. We also have faculty that are very devoted, and this is all a balancing act. We care about research. So I, for example, have an NIH-funded study, an R01, that's the best kind of research you can get. Very hard to get those kinds of studies. Very proud of myself. I am. Not that I'm sitting here telling you I'm wonderful, but
but you are.
But don't laugh, Colleen. But okay, you know, it's a fact. We really care about research. We have a wonderful program called the Undergraduate Research Fellows Program, where in this R1 institution, undergraduate students work with us and help us side by side to be moving our research forward. And I find that really wonderful because of a lot of reasons. But for me, one of the reasons is when you think outside the box, which you're more likely to do if you're just starting and learning about a profession and you ask why all the time. It's kind of why I like very young children. They haven't given up in trying to figure out if things couldn't work a different way. Well, as a researcher, when somebody's helping you to think how things could work a different way, you figure out great things. So I have really enjoyed working with our undergraduate research fellows, and that is a fabulous thing. And other schools could have this also, but part of what I really think is special about Boston College is we're not just hiring people to work with our students who are not full-time doctorally prepared faculty. We have all kinds of full-time doctorally prepared faculty who are either doing research or very involved in clinical practice who are with our students in clinical sites. And so we're really devoted to undergraduate education in ways that I haven't always seen and in ways that I really value. I guess the last thing I'd say, you know, I have 2 children of my own, and so actually really liked the trying to figure out colleges and all the discernment that goes to what is the best place for me, as long as you have choices. And your children, because they're very smart, have good choices. We know this. If you were admitted to BC, you were admitted to other places, and we're proud of you. Now you have the great, great good luck to sit there and think, where am I going to be all that I can be? Where am I going to be the very best me? And those are really important questions. And so we'll be very interested in looking at your questions and providing you all kinds of answers. And I can tell you I'm easy to find. I'm on the website, but my email is susan.gennaro, 2 N's, 1 R, @bc.edu. And I really love getting emails from people asking questions because it's much more interesting than some of the emails that I'm getting, especially these days, I have to say. So feel free to email us with questions and we'll be happy to answer them. But I can tell you that one of the things that's true and one of the things that I discern about is when you're thinking about all you can be, what kind of values are important to you? Because one of the things that's true about Boston College is that we are a Catholic and Jesuit university. And I say that, you know, I happen to be married to a man who was brought up as a kosher Orthodox Jew. So being very, very religious was something I was a little scared about in terms of Boston College. But it's not, you can be as religious as you'd like to be or not be, but it's the values. It is the being able to really be women and men for others. It is the really, really being the very best person you can be. And I really appreciate that because as a dean, when I'm having to make decisions, I always know that the bottom line answer is going to be what is the right moral, ethical thing to do. And not always is it making us the most money or anything else. So let us provide you with any information we can, and I'm going to turn it over to Colleen. I know that she's going to be talking about the curriculum and Anya and some of the wonderful opportunities like going abroad and all kinds of other things, but let us help you to answer questions because the people who come here really are really happy here. And BC nurses are excellent. And we go to all kinds of fabulous hospitals of people at MGH and the Brigham and Beth Israel Deaconess, et cetera, are saying, your students are the best, you're the best. And that's what we want for you. So Colleen.
So welcome everyone. It's really thrilling to get to not see you, but to meet you all virtually. And as Susan said, I'm happy to answer questions that you have. I did get some questions from students prior to the webinar starting, and most of those were revolving around curriculum and study abroad opportunities and general questions about how to be a student. So I'll spend a couple minutes on that, and then we'll open it up to all of your questions. So the curriculum for the School of Nursing is very rigorous, and it starts with a lot of science is, what happens in the first year. And then what we do is we have all of our sophomores start in that first semester, all of our freshmen start in that first semester in what we call the Freshman Nursing Seminar, and Anya helps me coordinate and run that. And that is really to help you all transition to Boston College and more specifically help you transition to the School of Nursing so that right away you get that sense of community that we really aspire to all of you achieving. So we have, Anya's just finished interviewing all of our rising juniors, and so we pair a junior and a senior nursing student with a small group of you freshmen to really talk about the transition to college, how you study, all of the time management things, and how you can be a BC student in the wider university, in addition to working with, your nursing studies. And so we talk about all the different study abroad opportunities and that kind of business. So it really does help you kind of dive in and really engage in Boston College in that first semester. So all of you will be put into small groups, and we hope that you will socialize with one another, and we actually kind of make you socialize with one another by sending you out on coffee dates with each other. So it's that kind of stuff. And then the dean actually runs the Introduction to Professional Nursing course in the spring semester of your freshman year. And so really talking about, you know, the profession of nursing and the vocation of nursing and the job of nursing and the history of nursing. And so really to help you to understand what it is that you're truly getting into. And then as sophomores, we start you right off in your fall semester in the clinical lab. So you do a health assessment theory course, and that's health assessment across the lifetime. You learn about how you care from everybody from, you know, newborn all the way up to, you know, the elderly population. And you work in the lab with each other every single week for several hours to kind of gain the foundational skills that we all need as bedside nurses. And then in your spring semester, every single one of you is prepared to start in the hospital. And we didn't always have this curriculum this way. If you know anybody that was, you know, a BC nurse from, you know, your parents or, you know, up to about 4 years ago, there was a plan A and a plan B. And the plan B students were the ones that would have the opportunity to study abroad. And we really felt that that wasn't, you know, socially just. And being Boston College, we really are focused on what is social justice for everyone. And so we wanted every single sophomore to have the same opportunity. And so we changed our curriculum a little bit. And so all of you go to the hospitals in your spring semester of your sophomore year. And as Dean Gennaro said, we are in all of the best Boston hospitals. They are the best healthcare system in the entire world, arguably. And so, and you will have experiences at just about every one of them. So Massachusetts General Hospital, Brigham and Women's Hospital, Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital are all part of the Harvard University system. Tufts University is associated with Boston Medical Center. And then we also have some community hospital placements because it's really important for you to kind of see all the different types of nursing that are available. So Newton Wellesley Hospital is one of our, you know, it's part of the Harvard system, but it's one of our community partners. And then we have a lot of community partners in psych mental health, including the world-renowned McLean Hospital, and all of the different population health clinical agencies are also something that you'll be exposed to in your time here at Boston College. And so that's kind of just a quick, you know, overview of the thing. Some people ask why Boston College, because it's not associated with a medical school. And, you know, I would have to say, as the one who's of the team who's been here the longest, I came to BC in 2001. That's what I really do love about Boston College, is that we're not associated with a medical school, so we get to access to all the medical schools. We work with Boston University medical students, we work with Harvard medical students, we work with Tufts medical students, so UMass medical students. So we have those abilities to go see all the different, you know, ways that healthcare is being kind of grounded and worked on in the Massachusetts area. So for me, that's been, you know, kind of a plus. And as Dean Gennaro did say, you know, Boston College nurses are highly regarded. And so we do have, you know, really kind of special partnerships with these area hospitals and these different medical schools. And then from a study abroad perspective, as Dean Gennaro said, we're really interested in you being fully formed, that you're not just here for nursing education, but that you really are a Boston College graduate and you have exposure to the full education that is Boston College. And so that includes the university core, and we encourage you to take classes not just with School of Nursing people, but with, you know, people from all the different departments, all the different schools, the School of Education, the School of Business, the Morrissey College of Arts and Science, so that you really do feel part of the broader community, as much as we care about the nursing community, but we really want you to be a part of the Boston College experience. And one of the hallmarks of Boston College is the study abroad program. And, you know, Father Leahy, in true Jesuit form, really feels that we are supposed to be men and women going out to be with others. And so he believes very firmly in that study abroad experience. And as such has said to Dean Gennaro that he really expects that the percentage of nursing students will be offered that opportunity. And so I would say probably about 40% of my undergraduates will study abroad for a semester. It's not for everybody. And I would say that probably closer to about 75–80% of our nursing students end up with an abroad experience, because it's not just the semester abroad that is possible. You can do short courses in the summer that the university offers, in academics like English, French, economics, global health. There's many opportunities that you can use at the broader university and go abroad just for a few weeks or a month. You don't have to go for the entire, semester of your junior year. We have many opportunities in the School of Nursing, and that's kind of our commitment, is to really make you global citizens. And so we have senior level population health immersion experiences in Santiago, Chile, and Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, and we're widening our associations with global health programs in Lausanne, Switzerland, and Melbourne, Australia. And Dean Gennaro and I continue. We just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with the University College Dublin. University College Dublin. We already have an association with Trinity College Dublin, but the University College Dublin also would like to accept students into a studies program that may include some clinical placements. And the ones that I mentioned, in Haiti and Guatemala and the Dominican Republic and Chile, all are clinical based courses. And so you get to go see not only these different countries and these different healthcare systems, but really look at nursing through that critical lens of how do we do things here and how do they do things there, and really what would be the best way to do something. And so really looking at best practices that way. So that's some of our study abroad. I don't want to drone on for forever. I'd rather you guys get a chance to really ask your questions live.
Colleen, can I just say one thing about minors? Because that's always a question that people ask, unless you'd like to talk about them.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So because we are really interested in a very well-rounded education, so that you're not only the best nurses, but you're the best educated human being, because it's really important to be a well-educated human being. We are very supportive of minors, and we have an excellent advising system, which we couldn't do any of these things without such an excellent advising system. So we'll help everybody to get their beginning courses through orientation, and then you'll be assigned to an advisor who, as long as you like them, you get to keep, hopefully, for the 4 years you're here. That's the way it works for most people. And they really help to ensure that there's flexibility and independence of what's happening. We work very closely with Anya and very closely with Dean Simonelli in terms of making sure that we're combining quality and good decision-making with the excellent ability to meet goals. And so we have students who do lots of different kinds of minors if they really want to do that. Some minors are easier than others. We have a Hispanic studies minor that, because we have so many programs in Spanish-speaking countries, is a little easier to do. And we also have some clinical that you can do if you're Spanish-speaking. And so that's a very helpful thing for that minor. But we've had people who've done all kinds of language minors, business minors, whatever. So there is no one way to graduate. The thing that I would tell you, you can go abroad, you can have minors, you can be an athlete, you can sing, you can do everything. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. Because sadly, I learned this, there's only 24 hours in a day. And people who are between 18 and 22 do not sleep enough. you really need 8 hours of sleep. And so if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, you can do a lot of things, but you can't do everything. And so part of our mission in life is to make sure that people who come here stay healthy, really get to meet their goals, really discern about their goals, what's going to help them be the best that they can be, and how are they going to be excellent nurses. So having said that, do we think ready for questions? Are there other things that people ask that we should be answering?
Absolutely. We're certainly ready for questions. And Dean Gennaro, I have to say you're quite prophetic, because the first question that was asked was about minors. So you're ahead of the game. I love it. I love it.
I'm just a good researcher collecting lots of data. People always want to know about minors.
Another question that came through was about the average class size, specifically for nursing courses. And, you know, the university average is around 27 students per class. So I was just curious, for nursing students, is that lower, the same?
It actually varies. And so I guess if you average it all out, then yeah, probably. But our first year, anatomy and physiology and chemistry are taught in, big lecture halls. So that's the entire freshman class would be in those lectures. And then they have small sections of about 20 students that they have for their lab. And so that's where they work with the professor or one of the other, professors from biology or chemistry to, kind of make sure that they have the material, make sure that they have good understanding, and, continue on with the large lecture hall for that. All of our clinical courses, which you get to starting in your sophomore year, have only 6 students in them. So if you're, in your adult health 1 clinical, you're in a small group of 6 students with a faculty member. And then what we've done is we've tried to split the courses, because we are mindful that students do learn better in smaller, cohorts. And so our specialty courses that you take in the upper division, like I used to teach obstetrics. Both Dean Gennaro and I are OB nurses. And so before I took on the role of the dean, I was the maternity faculty for all of the students. And so what we did with the 100 students that we typically have every year is we split them in thirds. So a third would take it on one day, 30 some odd students, 30 some odd students on the other day. And then in the spring semester, we would offer a third section of it, so that the students all, could have just a smaller cohort, but many of you are taking it at the same time. So you still can, be in your study groups and things like that. So it still is that kind of helpful community. The other thing that we are really committed to is your success. So, academic resources, I can't say enough about, the support that we've gotten from Dean Gennaro and her putting her, absolute money where her love of students is that we have freshman study halls for all of our freshmen, so that they have the opportunity to work with one of our team members in the undergraduate program on, just basic study skills for anatomy, in addition to the faculty who are very available, who, not only have their office hours weekly, but also, welcome students to come and ask questions. So we do that twice a week for our students, and it's a volunteer basis. You get to choose whether or not you want to do it. And that runs the entire freshman year. And that's just in the School of Nursing, because Boston College, as a well-resourced university, has what we call the Connors Family Learning Center. And so they too, provide a resource. What they do is they call me every semester and they say, hey, who is your best and your brightest student in this particular course? And so I, will hand them the name, and they actually employ those students to sit in the Connors Family Learning Center and just wait for students to come, in with their questions. So you really get to learn the material from, these fabulous professors, but then you also get to maybe hear it slightly different, where it makes maybe a little bit more sense or comes a little bit easier to you from upperclassmen who have, been through the program right ahead of you. And so not only do we have that for, all 4 years and the freshman study halls, but we know that students, as they start into the nursing curriculum, particularly with pathophysiology, which everybody needs to know about illness, but it is a very complex course. and pharmacology, that those are, again, places where students really could use a little boost or a little additional support. And so one of our preeminent faculty members, who's been with us for forever and is just an unbelievable master teacher, does twice a week study halls with those students. And the progress with that has just been insurmountable. As Dean Gennaro said, she's a world-class researcher. And so, her looking at data is, really king. And we have been able to show the data that everybody that has participated in these study halls, everybody that has worked with Dr. Jane Ashley, in pathophysiology and pharmacology studies, has done incredibly well. So it is one thing, that I think students that come to Boston College really do need to kind of reset and kind of reframe. You all are unbelievably bright. That's why you got in. I don't know that I could ever get in these days with your study, with your test scores that you had to achieve to come here. So again, I'm in awe, and I'm, really excited to work with you. But college is very different than high school. There's a lot of free time, and you have to manage that well. So learning, how to manage your free time is really critical. As high school students and involved in all of your extracurriculars and all of the things that you do, I'm sure, you're really highly scheduled. So it's really kind of challenging when you have 6 hours that you don't have anything that you have to do, but really you do. And so that is to be, preparing for class, and to be reviewing your notes from class, and to be getting ready for the exams and starting papers earlier. And so that's the big difference with college. And so one of my favorite Dean Gennaro things is that she likes to say, don't think of it as tutoring. Everybody needs a consultant. And so here is your consultant. So you go ahead and you have a consultant. And this
is the American way, consultant.
It is. So everybody get your consultants on, and make sure that you avail yourselves of all the resources, because that's what we know. You're all capable of succeeding here at Boston College.
And if I could just add one
quick
thing, and this was a question. So we all know everybody's brilliant, and I don't say that lightly, because I don't know that I would have gotten in either. And we know that you're all very capable of doing the work, and that you'll be great nurses. But we also know that the transition to college isn't always easy. And we know that from our own personal experience. I had a plant that only stayed alive my freshman year because I cried into it all the time. That was a sad thing. What are you laughing about? It was a very hard transition for me to go away to college. And I realized, and we know that there are kids that become very anxious or very depressed, or just have all kinds of situational things that happen. And, we all know life right now isn't the easiest, although it's going to be much better next year. Or in the fall. But we know that it's also important that we provide support other than academic support. So we have fabulous academic support. We also have fabulous support for non-academic things. So we have an associate dean for student services and a director that she works with, and she works very closely, the two of them, with Anya and with Dean Simonelli, so that everybody all together is saying, hey, we haven't seen so-and-so lately, what's going on? And so, we'd say, if you're a student, it's not a problem to have a problem. It's not a problem if you feel upset or whatever, because we've all been there. We've all done that. We know what it's like. And if I always think that somewhere along the world you stumble and fall. And it's not, do you stumble and fall because we all stumble and fall. It's how do you get up and what do you do? Another reason why I really like consultants. So, let us know what's going on so we can help and get you hooked into, again, zillions of resources here to help people, because we know that God made each one of us, and he didn't make everybody like me, which has been amazing to me because I think I'm pretty great. But clearly, we have to all have different skill sets. So when we all have different skill sets and we all have different strengths and weaknesses, how do we help each other all have strengths and not worry about our weaknesses? So there's a lot of support. There were some other questions, I think, that.
Yeah. So one of the questions that came through was about, how do students choose the specialty that they want to go into upon graduation? How do you help them with that?
We expose them to everything is the quick answer. So, you know, you're going to see every single type of specialty while you're here as a student. You have a rotation in adult health, kind of chronic care. You have a rotation in adult health, acute care. You have obstetrics, of course, my personal favorite. You have pediatric nursing. You have psychiatric nursing. You have population health-based nursing. And then you have what we call our signature synthesis course, where we pair you with a nurse in the field for a semester so that you really can, you know, look at different specialties, you know, in the world. And I know that, you know, some students feel as if they have to have their synthesis in a particular place. It's just as important to find out what you don't like as what you do like. So I would just not, you know, spend a lot of time worrying about that. And that it is something that just really shows you what it's like to be a nurse. And that typically happens in your senior year. But that's, you know, that's how you will get to pick your specialty. And as Dean Gennaro said, all of our faculty, a lot of them do research, a lot of them are clinically based. Like I still have my practice at Mass General Hospital. And, you know, so we still, you know, can talk to you about, you know, about what our different specialties are. We have, you know, faculty that work in ICUs. We have faculty that work in psychiatric. We have faculty that work in pediatrics, everything.
And that was one of the questions, what percentage of our faculty is in practice? And actually we collect that data every year. Not that I really know off the top of my head, but it's something like, it's a little less than 50%, something like 45 or 47 or something percent of people are actively in practice, as well as all the other things that they're doing, which is a high percent. We really care about people being clinically knowledgeable and up to date who are teaching.
Wonderful. Can you guys touch a little bit upon outcomes and how students do with job placement upon graduating and passing the national exam?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll pass to Colleen. We have a very high NCLEX pass rate. We don't teach to the NCLEX. We teach to be excellent nurses and not just to be good at multiple choice tests. So we're always in the 90s, but it goes up from year to year or down or whatever the story is. So some years it's 95, some years it's 93, but people always pass, or not always, you can never say always, but generally pass the second time. I would say people who study, and everybody doesn't study, really do well the first time, but you know how it is. Not everybody really wants to sit down and study. In terms of where people work, we follow that very closely. Everybody gets jobs. Everybody wants to work in different places. So our Career Center is very active in helping people get jobs and is very active in tracking where people are. And so we have, it's a national university. People go back to healthcare settings all across the country. We have a lot of contacts all across the country because we have alumni all across the country, and besides which I do happen to know a few people. And so that helps in terms of where people go and what's the story. So I would tell you that in general, people are in the kinds of places that they've chosen are the best for them to be. We also have some people who decide they're gonna do a year of Jesuit volunteer corps or things like that. So 100% of everybody who wants to be in a job is in a job. People do very well on the NCLEX. Some people decide they want to go back to school immediately. There was a question earlier about do people do well getting into BC for graduate school? And the answer is yes, because you're very smart and you're very good, and that's what we're looking for in the graduate program also. But they also do very well getting into all kinds of other graduate programs. And we spend a lot of time, and your advisor is very helpful in helping you to think for you. Do you want to go out and practice a while? Do you want to go back to school? When do you want to go back to school? But, oh my God, I touched my face. What a mortal sin on camera. But here I have my Purell, thank you. Don't anybody tell.
It's not being recorded at all.
Right. See, now I've lost where I was. But we do know from talking to people that 90-something% of our undergraduates say that they will, within 5 years, go back and get further education. Whether they actually do, I don't really know. So I'm mindful of the time. I want to make sure that all the questions people are asking, we're answering. Are there other things we haven't touched on, Kelly?
Well, one of the things You know, when we have our admitted Eagle Day programs where we have everybody on campus and they're able to come to your nursing session, I think one of the really great takeaways from that is that they get to see our simulated laboratory facilities. So I was wondering if you guys could just explain a little bit about the facilities that we have, the hands-on facilities that help students in their nursing curriculum.
Oh, sure. So this is one of our favorite things, is that a few years ago, back in 2015, we did move to Maloney Hall, and we doubled our simulation space. And so we have a huge 24-bed, you know, what it would look like as an intensive care unit. And this is where we usually have half of our admitted students stay. So what happens is the students go and sit in the lab and talk to our students and Anya, while the parents are up in one of our conference rooms talking to the dean and myself, and then we swap so that the parents can go down and see it. And so you will be starting right in your first lab assessment of your sophomore year working in that lab. It's called the Brown Family Learning Lab. And every single bed is, as I said, like an ICU. It has full telemetry, all the, you know, the equipment that you would see in the area hospitals is right there at your fingertips for you to practice with, for you to study with. And students, I think somebody asked, like, can you go into the sim lab outside of your, you know, coursework? And absolutely, we highly encourage that. We do have study sessions. We have a robust teaching assistant pool, and Dean Gennaro has financed a whole core of them to work just in the lab every single week, so that they're there to help our students, you know, outside of the classroom to practice, so that you can really feel, you know, strongly about your skills. And then we have 4 high fidelity. This is one of my favorite things, because back in 2008, I got a Boston College grant to run a high fidelity labor simulation. Dean Gennaro likes to call her Birthing Bertha, but her name was really Noelle. And she actually gave birth, I don't know, probably about 1,000 times, you know, in her lifetime. So we've gotten a new Birthing Bertha, you know, over the years, because you do have to, you know, use those high fidelity simulators for a few years and then buy new ones. And so that is part of our, again, you know, commitment to this simulation center. And so we have our anesthesia students that use the high fidelity simulation, our OB students. We have pediatric high fidelity simulators for our pediatric, and we have standardized patients that we use for psychiatric mental health simulation, and we do population health simulation with disaster settings and in nursing homes, and you know, so we really do have a very robust you know, lab center, and it's right in and around the student lounge. So it's a very vibrant, you know, fabulous space. I wish we could be showing it to you.
But it is on the web a little bit, if you look on the web, so that's a good thing. And Colleen, could you just speak, all of the simulation is above and beyond direct patient contact in hospitals and healthcare centers and ambulatory centers, et cetera. So there's a question about how many hours of clinical our students do, which the answer is?
So we have 15 weeks of instruction, and each clinical is 8 hours. So that, if you do the math very quickly, is 120 hours in each of our courses. And that is spent, other than this semester, in direct patient care in the hospital or the community agencies. And then our faculty really are committed to you fully understanding, just like myself, you know, with OB, it's difficult to make a pregnant woman deliver when you're available. And so, so it is a challenge. And so for people to be able to participate and to really be the nurse taking care of that laboring patient, that's why we've used high fidelity simulation. So that has been in addition to our clinical hours, so that, you know, that really that students have those kind of what we call them low frequency, high risk, you know, opportunities. And, you know, if you were working as a student nurse, you would kind of be pushed to the side if any of these things were really happening. And yet we need to learn, you know, and we learn, most of us, well by doing. And quite frankly, we learn by making mistakes. And so it's not really good to make mistakes on actual people. So we really, foster that, you can go ahead and kill birthing Bertha and I'll bring her right back to
I
life.
think she has been killed a few times.
She has been killed a couple of times. We try not to kill her, but she comes back. She's very resilient. So so that's that's the simulation center.
And then I think people were wondering about what people do after and how that works, and in terms of we educate you to be able to work as a registered nurse, as a staff nurse, or you can move up to be a nurse manager or whatever, in lots of different kinds of facilities. And some people do that for the rest of their lives. They might change from where they're working now to maybe a more intensive or a more outpatient or whatever. It all depends on what it is you want your career to be. I will never forget the moment when I was working in an ICU and my husband, who's a nurse, was working in the CCU of the same hospital. And he said to me, Susan, I am finding something to do where I only have to be paying attention to one patient at a time. And I said, Bill, that's impossible. That's never going to happen. And didn't the man figure out that he could become a nurse anesthetist, where he would only ever take care of one patient at a time? Although if you're in the military during war, they can set you up to be doing 2 people at a time, but he's never had that experience. So he went off to nurse anesthesia school, and he has been a nurse anesthetist now for a number of years. And it is something that I would never do, and I would hate. I can't stand the OR, but it is something that he has loved and thrived and been great at, and took him going back and getting an advanced degree in special skills. We have a nurse anesthesia program. There are some people who decide, I don't want to be just dealing with sick people all the time. I'd like to help people to stay healthy. So I'd really like to become a nurse practitioner in primary care and help people to think about, couldn't you exercise a little more, sleep a little more, eat a little less, exercise, any of those things, wear your sunscreen, any of those things that...
Wash your hands, don't touch your face.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face. Oh my God, don't even mention that again. All those things that really make a difference, especially if you're a great provider. And so some people come back and they get a degree and specialties in different kinds of being a nurse practitioner. We have a number of different programs for family, psychiatric mental health, pediatric,
Women's health,
adult general women's health.
Right.
And so some people decide they want to do that. There are many, this is one of the things that I think we all love about nursing, is there are so many things you can do. So, I started out really somehow this was wrong, thinking I wasn't a good nurse unless I could suction babies in tiny little isolettes with excellent skills. So I worked in NICUs and I worked in ICUs, and I was a clinical nurse specialist in the neonatal intensive care unit, and I worked in labor and delivery, and I enjoyed all of that. And then life takes strange ways, and when we actually moved for my husband to become a nurse anesthetist, the only job I could get, imagine this, was in academia, and that just started moving things along. But in the course of my career, I've been able to work in different clinical specialties. I am the editor of a journal that I really love and care about, that's read in 107 or something like that countries by 350,000 nurses, which is really a lot of fun for me. I'm able to do research. We all can't do everything because of that dreaded only 24 hours in a day. But nursing allows you to figure out what you're really good at and continue to do it. And we're always, and I say this every year to graduating seniors, once you're a BC nurse, you're always a BC nurse. And people are always interested in helping you to discern and think about what it is you want to do. So that is the answer to becoming a nurse practitioner, staying as a staff nurse, what you can do. Lots of jobs, lots of places, no shortages of nurses, as we can see.
Thank you. We are at time, so I'm going to send it back to Sue.
I just want to thank everyone for a wonderful session. We always know that we don't get to everybody's questions, but I know everyone is welcome to receive emails if we didn't get to your questions. And I just wanted to say not only thank you to the folks in the nursing school for doing this panel, but also I've been thinking how many students that you've mentored and taught over the years who are right now on the front lines working in really difficult situations, and how amazing that is. And to all of you students who are interested in this wonderful vocation, how amazing you all are. So thank you everybody for joining us for this webinar today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.